Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Very nice to see you all. This is Robert at English 360. I am an English teacher, and I will be doing some morning shows for people who want to tune in and practice English, practice at least learning English. So today's topic is London. There are some interesting facts about London that many people don't know. So I found a very interesting website which talks about London and actually tells me things that I didn't know. I'm from London myself, but I didn't know these things. So number one, did you know that there are 300 languages spoken in London, apart from English, that is. 300 different languages, which are European, the French, Italian, Spanish, etc., but also languages from around the world, such as from Asia, Chinese, Cantonese, Mandarin, Hokkien, Gujarati, etc. So if you ever go to London, you might find people who are speaking your language. So that's something I didn't know, and I knew that there were lots of languages, but I did not know there were 300 of them. So I have a lovely picture of Camden Town. So that's where lots of different people from around the world are, basically. So second interesting fact is the Big Ben. Do you know the Big Ben? Yeah, the big tower. It's actually not called the Big Ben. It's called the Clock Tower. That's its real name. Big Ben is the name of the bell in the clock tower. It's not the name of the whole thing. So if you are ever with your friends and you want to boast your knowledge about London, you can tell them that actually it's not Big Ben, it's the clock tower. Another interesting fact is about Jack the Ripper. You probably know Jack the Ripper, famous criminal who killed lots of women in London. Well, the police never actually caught Jack the Ripper. They never found out who he was, and they never caught him. So he still remains at large. I guess probably dead, but they never caught him. Yeah. The other fact about London is about the ravens. Now, ravens are those black birds that people are scared of sometimes. They're actually quite nice. They're very elegant. There are 6 of these ravens in the Tower of London houses. You might wonder, it's not so strange to have ravens in a tower. Well, they are there because Charles II is one of the kings of England. Charles II wanted 6 ravens in the Tower of London to protect it. He was very superstitious, so he wanted these 6 ravens. Now, you are probably thinking that was so long ago. Those 6 ravens are probably dead. Yes, they are dead, unless they are long-living ravens. But I haven't seen any around. But the tradition keeps going on, and even the current monarchs have 6 ravens in the Tower of London. They're very superstitious. They don't want any ravens to fly away, so they are encaged inside the tower. Yep, that is the raven business. So next thing is the St. Paul's Cathedral. do you know the cathedral in London, the St. Paul's? It's the most famous one in London. So it was built by, it was designed by Christopher Wren, England's very famous architect. So it's a 60-foot, 20-meter stone pineapple in place of the iconic dome. So one of the original ideas of Christopher Wren was to put a pineapple, a 60-foot or 20-meter pineapple at the top instead of the dome. It would have been really outstanding, to have a pineapple instead of a dome. But then they decided against the pineapple business because probably people thought it would have been very funny. What's wrong with funny, I think. So the other interesting fact that I wanted to tell you about was the feeding of the pigeons. So if you know London, or if you have seen pictures of Trafalgar Square, there are lots of pigeons in Trafalgar Square, and it's home to thousands of pigeons. So there are lots and lots of pigeons there. It's actually now illegal to feed these pigeons. Yeah, it's if you are caught feeding, you can be fined by the police, which means you will have to pay a certain amount of money. Yeah. And one more thing which is very interesting in my opinion about London is that it has a Millennium Dome. I don't know if you know it. It was built during the noughties, and it's so big that it can fit the Great Pyramids of Giza. So if you have a pyramid of Giza, it fits under the roof of the Millennium Dome. That's how big it is. People don't realize because it's very round and curvy, but it's pretty big. So here's a question for you. Karl Marx, Charles Darwin, Sylvia Plath, Charles Dickens, Jimi Hendrix, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Florence Nightingale. What do they all have in common? So what do these people all have in common? Well, they all have sometimes in their lives lived in London. Yeah, it's I did not know about Karl Marx living in London, for example, but yes, he has lived in London. He obviously wanted to meet with other philosophers, so London is a very important place to meet new people. Okay, so did you know that London has lots of museums, like the British Museum, the Science Museum, etc.? So there are 170 museums in London. 170 museums. That's a lot of museums if you want to travel around London and visit even half of them. So if you do want to go to museums in London, you will need about 5 years to visit them all. So yes, it's very interesting to know that it has so many museums, but I think you might need to choose the ones you want to visit. And the last fact about London is that there is a Cleopatras Needle. You might wonder what is a Cleopatras Needle. Basically, it's an Egyptian artifact which is located on Victoria Embankment. It's a little like a statue, you could call it. It was erected in 1838. So during this time, many things were placed underneath, including a map of London, a copy of the Bible, some daily newspapers, a rupee, 12 photographs of the best looking English women. So this is like a time capsule. They put all these things together and they buried it under a little statue. They call it the Cleopatra's Needle. So, if you have time, share a comment, talk, and tell us about your trip to London if you have been there, and which of the museums did you see? Perhaps it's the most famous museum obviously is the British Museum, so everybody goes there. It's free as well. And how is it different from your city, London, in terms of population, languages spoken, and weather as well? Currently, at the moment, as we speak, it's about 12, 13 degrees, which is quite warm for London for this time of the year, oddly enough. Where I am at the moment in Rome, it's about 9 degrees. So it's colder here in Rome, which is further down south than it is in London, which is up north. It's just strange. So, Rome compared to London, I moved to Rome years ago. Rome compared to London is very different. I don't think there are 300 languages spoken here. I don't think there are 100 languages spoken here. So it's very different, of course. I don't think there are 300 museums as well, or 100 museums, but there are lots. The quality of monuments and museums in Rome is, at a much different level compared to London. London has a long history, but Rome offers a great deal in terms of monuments like the Colosseum and the Pantheon and all that. So I hope you enjoyed this morning show. It's the first one I'm doing because some of my students asked me to do this morning show because they thought it would be a good idea to practice some listening in the morning or watching a video as well. So I'll be doing this at least once a week on different days. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and leave the notification button on so you will know when the next one's going to be, probably next week sometime. So thanks very much for tuning in, and drive safe. Have a great day.